All right, week 17 for the NFL, and finally, after 2 weeks of him being missing, Will is back. The man was held in
He is
captivity at
alive.
work.
He is alive.
Yes, alive and well, unfortunately.
Jeez.
I want to die.
Damn, bro.
All right, well, before we get into the NFL stuff, there is some college stuff this week. This is the week for bowl games. Tonight's actually Texas A&M and Oklahoma State, which is going to be going on while we're recording. Not a whole lot going on tomorrow, Thursday, but Friday we have at 7 o'clock Missouri and Ohio State. That's two top tens, so that ought to be a good game. Chris's Ole
Yeah.
Miss Rebels going against Penn State on Saturday, number
Hell
10
yeah,
and
damn
11.
right. Oh yeah, can't wait. That's gonna be a really good matchup. Because according to my research, Penn State has a top 10 defense in their conference, and obviously we have a top 5 offense in all conference. So it's going to be the battle of their best against the battle of ours. So I'm looking forward to it. Bring them on. It's a really good test for us to show that we can indeed compete for next year's college football playoff. I'm ready for it. Bring them on. Let's smash the Nittany Lions. Try saying that
Lord,
5 times fast.
man had a stroke mid-sentence. On Saturday evening, we have Georgia and Florida State, number 6 and number 4. Wait, number 4? That don't sound right. Oh, this is going
I
off
don't.
of the AP poll, not the college playoff rankings. That's it.
Okay. Okay. I don't think they're number 4.
Yeah, but that one's at 3 o'clock. Should be good. Going to the next day though to kick off the day of New Year's, we have Wisconsin at LSU at 11. At 2, or not 2, that's 12. We have number 20 Iowa and 25 Tennessee. Granted, it's not the playoff rankings, but still pretty close.
Yes,
And then
indeed.
at 4 o'clock, we have Bama and Michigan. Michigan, please. Anyone but Bama.
Around the bowl and down the whole road, Tide roll. And that's trash talking against Bama, folks. Just ahead, clarifying that.
You will not catch me dead saying that forbidden phrase.
Hey, that was actually trash talk. That's what my mama always says when we're talking trash about Bama. Around the bowl, down the toilet hole is what we're talking about.
Yeah, my grandpa always would say roll turd.
There you go. That works too.
But last game of the day for New Year's is Texas and Washington. I'm pulling for Texas for this year since LSU has
Yeah,
been knocked out.
yeah. I have a special friend that is Texas alumni, nursing school alumni as well. So I'll be cheering for her team, that the Texas Longhorns as well. So
Hook
go
'em
Longhorns.
horns.
I don't think Will would appreciate it, but I don't think he could care any less. So
I'm going to let it slide this one time just so that Bama doesn't win. But I will not be caught dead saying anything of the sorts.
Yeah.
All I can say is gig 'em tonight, boys.
mm,
Ah,
yep.
well, let's move on to NFL for this week. To kick it off, Thursday night we have Jets and Browns. I honestly don't think the Browns should lose this one. Uh, their defense is one of the best, probably like second behind the Ravens right now. And Joe Flacco is on fire. He's actually doing really well. Granted, he's thrown a handful of interceptions, but he's also had over 300 yards, I think, for 3 straight games and multiple touchdowns.
Yeah. Um, if I gotta say, I'm kind of shocked how good Joe Flacco looks at his age. Like he's like what, near in his 40s at this point, I think, something like that. And that he's just filled in very nicely for the Browns. I gotta say, if I'm a Browns fan, I would want a massive refund on Deshaun Watson's current contract. So, but of
Take
course,
that up
he's
with the
only
Texans.
temporary. Right. Of course, Joe Flacco is only a temporary solution to their current quarterback problems, and he's filled in quite nicely. So, bravo to him and the Browns for keeping the train on the on a, you know what I mean, train on the tracks. So,
And thank
in
God that
regards to,
man has saved my fantasy season.
well, I bet. Oh, by the way, shout out to little bro. He took a massive L to Jose here in fantasy football playoffs.
Yeah, Ryan, how's it
Eh,
feel to be one and done?
yes, you took a nice massive L there.
I honestly though, like, the Jets defense is good, but they've been somewhat inconsistent. I mean, we all saw what happened that game against the Chargers, who, as we know, have been really struggling for the past like month, and they still got blown out. I
Oh
I
wow.
don't think that the Jets should win this game unless by some miracle something lights a fire in them. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, it's impossible at this rate. I mean, they would need a miracle to find a way to beat the Browns. The Browns are the Browns are just looking way too good for the Jets at this point. And the Jets, they have their moments, especially on defense, where they can lock down their opponents and give their offense just enough to win the game. But at the same time, they just can't do it all, obviously, and their record shows it. So the Browns should be able to take this one pretty simply. I had the Browns winning by at least 7 points at the most.
Although, Will, your thoughts?
I'm taking the Browns. The Jets may have won this past weekend, but if you look at the point differential, they won by what, 2, 3 points against the Commanders, who have one of the worst defenses and offenses in the league right now. Um, I don't see it. The Jets. I mean, Trevor Siemian had a good game. But if you look at the competition, like the Browns are a legit like playoff contender, so the Browns are gonna take this game, I think, easily.
Is Will here?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think I'm also in agreement. I mean, just look at what the Browns defense did against Houston this past week. Yes, Houston didn't have Stroud, but you had a veteran in both Davis Mills and Case Keenum, who aren't the best quarterbacks in the league, but by far not the worst. And that defense just absolutely swallowed them up for two, almost three full quarters before we could really produce anything. And yeah, like Paul said, Trevor Simeon's not anything spectacular. He had his little bit of time in Denver and just straight to backup after that. So I think Browns have this by far. I don't think it's a blowout by any means either, just because the Jets defense can get stops. Um, or, you know, maybe not anymore. I mean, look what the Commanders did to them this past week. But I do think the Browns win for sure. No questions asked.
Yeah. I guess we're all in agreement on that one then. But
Absolutely.
next one's going to be a little iffy, I think. Uh, the only game
Mm,
this week on Saturday, we have the Lions and Cowboys. Is this one in Detroit or in Dallas?
in Dallas.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good game, but also a really tough one because we have two really good teams. Lions won the North this past weekend. Congrats to them. First time since 1993. Man, and that's the year I was just a baby. 30 years it's been since they last won North. And let me tell you, I saw some highlights on YouTube and on Instagram reels of Lions fans going bananas. Like it's like they acted like they just won the Super Bowl, but they just only won the North. But honestly, I don't blame them. I mean, look at the Saints fans. Like when we won our Super Bowl. Like, granted, that's a whole different thing, but still, winning something like that is something significant they haven't done in a long time. So I gotta give them props for that. It's like go enjoy your win, but for this game in particular, it's gonna be a fist fight. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be high scoring. Yeah, granted, both teams have really good offenses, but that's what I said last week about the Cowboys and Dolphins, and it ended up being like a mid to low 20 scoring kind of game, and the Dolphins ended up winning and beating the Cowboys last week. So, for this matchup, uh, this is gonna make me throw up in my mouth saying this, but I'm taking the Cowboys in this one just because they have the home field advantage, and I think their defense is just a little more superior compared to Detroit's. Just my honest opinion.
This is a tough one because the Cowboys can be not a great team at times, and then at other times they can be a really, really good team. And the same with the Lions, honestly. Like when the Lions are hitting on all cylinders, like they're a really, really good team. Um, I'm gonna pick the Lions in this one, and it's really only because I have no idea like who should be favored in this, honestly. They're what, like the same record, very similar record. Um,
The Lions are 11-3, the Cowboys are 10-5. So, but
oh,
close.
okay. Well, I don't know. I feel like the Lions, like after they just won the North, like they're on a high a little bit, and maybe they're kind of like feeling themselves. And maybe that could be like not a good thing, but I don't know. I think this game could go either way. And if I had to pick one, I'm gonna pick the team that I want to win.
So, with Paulo saying that, I'm gonna cut in before Jose. Paulo, do you want redemption on a wager that
Oh
me and you made
no!
Ah,
from fantasy?
what's gonna be the
Oh
double
no!
down if
The double
if I
down
lose?
will be one round of drinks for the loser
Oh,
or the winner, not for the group in Dallas, but for the other person. Just one drink in Dallas.
Ah,
Because here I'm gonna pick Dallas. I'm gonna let you think about it. Let me get through my spiel. I'm gonna let you think about it. I'm gonna go right off the bat and say Dallas. We've known all season that they can't win in away games. I mean, they lost to Arizona in Arizona. They lost to Philly in Philly. They lost to Miami in Miami. Their road record is atrocious. It's at home. I feel like the Lions have a slightly better offense, and my main reason is the backfield: Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Like that is such a powerhouse and a 1-2 combo. Where on Dallas's side you have Pollard, who is very, very hit and miss this year. You have Dottle. You just don't have a solid running back there anymore. And the receivers are pretty comparable between the two of them. You have Amon-Ra, and you've got CeeDee Lamb. You got Sam Laporte over there. You've got Ferguson for Dallas, who is, man, having a season himself, replacing Dalton Schultz. But I do think Dallas's defense is the key factor that's going to allow them to win over Detroit. I think that's what's going to put them ahead is their defense, and that's what's going to hold ground. And it's in AT&T Stadium, like that is like Chris says, that is their winning factor. Like at home, they perform, and it has shown that all season. If this was in Detroit, my answer would be different. But it is at
oh
home.
yeah.
I have no guarantee that they don't win against Detroit this week.
you're not wrong. So what you want to do is if the Cowboys win, then I owe you a drink on top of
You
what
owe
I
me
owe
a drink.
you.
On what you owe
And
me, and
if
if you win, I owe you a drink.
Oh
I'll
God.
buy you 2
okay,
rounds. I will buy you 2 drinks. Since you
Let's
already owe me lunch
go.
from Fantasy Bet, I will buy you 2 drinks if you win.
I'm not confident whatsoever in my pick, but you know what? I'll take it anyway.
Let's go. You
Let's
heard
Let's
it
go.
here.
go.
Let's
All
go.
right. Let's go.
All right, now before I make my pick, there's some things I want to bring up. I'm looking at some stats here for the defenses in the NFL. Looking at rushing defense here, the already like non-existent or somewhat non-existent run game for the Cowboys We know they've had their troubles. They're going up against the fourth best rushing defense in the league, in the Lions. Meanwhile, the Cowboys are down at 19 on this ranking, based on of rushing yards allowed per game and touchdowns. Now, passing defense, though, looking at this, I'm looking through. I'm not seeing the Lions anywhere in the top 25 for this. However, the
On defense?
Cowboys, yes, passing defense.
Ah,
However, the Cowboys are number 5 in that category. I think the run game for Dallas hasn't been great all year. It's the pass game that is been what's been, winning them games. And if the Lions can't stop, like the big connection is Dak and CeeDee Lamb. If they can't stop that, I think Dallas is about to light them up.
Wouldn't
Unless
so
surprise me.
you're taking Dallas as well?
I want to take Dallas. I think it's going to be close. I'm giving Dallas the edge because of, like I just said, the pass defense for the Lions isn't the same level as theirs. At least the stats say they aren't. But they also have home field advantage being in Dallas. And even if the Lions' run defense is one of the best, the Cowboys don't really get much running the ball anyway. So I'm picking Dallas by, I'm going to say 3.
All right, so I am odd man out.
Yes, you are.
The only reason, the reason why I was like confident enough to take Will's bet, even though I don't feel like it's gonna go my way, is just that like when the Cowboys played the Niners, like everyone knows that the Niners have a good O line, and the Cowboys didn't really touch Purdy, but maybe once that whole game. The Lions have a top 5 O line, and I'm counting on that to negate the pass rush a bit, and then hopefully that will like swing things in the Lions' way. But we will have to see.
Yeah, but like Jose said, with that passing defense, I mean, it's not like Tua threw the ball all over them. I mean, they won by what was it,
Nah,
a
yeah,
point or 3? Like
It was
Tyreek
like
didn't
2,
have
I
this
think.
insane game. Like Jalen Waddle had one big game, but that was really about it.
yeah.
It's true.
But let's move on here. I think everybody's given their picks for that one. First up for Sunday, Saints Buccaneers. Oh God.
All right. Let me go ahead and get the rant started. Because, yeah, Saints are pretty much toast, in my opinion. Because after taking the most, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, they shouldn't have lost last week. They need to win last week, and they did not. Clearly, they stunk it up last week. The score looks closer than it seems. It was not close at all. Period.
The only
They
reason
were
it looks that way is because they got a lot in garbage time.
exactly. I was just about to hit that. Like we were down by 20 plus points the entire game up until the last 2 minutes of the game where we got garbage time scores. So it just looks a little more respectable. But we all know this Saints team is just not good. They're only good against really, really bad teams. In fact, there was this analysis I saw by the local news sportscaster today, and he made some really interesting points. Is that if you break down the Saints' schedule this year, we are 6-0 against teams that have 2 or less wins, and then we are 1-5 against teams who have like 4 to 5 wins, and then we're obviously winless against teams who have 7 or more. And I think we can figure out who's who in that department. So it just shows that our team this year just cannot beat good teams, and what's worse is that we can't even beat mediocre teams that are like us. So what does that really say about our Saints? It just shows we are not going anywhere this year. There's the only reason we are still in the playoff hunt right
It's because
now is
everybody
because
else in the South stinks.
exactly. So we got the Bucks this week. This is basically our last shot. and if we lose this Sunday, it's pretty much officially done. So, and honestly, the way we played this year, we're not gonna beat the Bucks. I'm sorry. They're at home. They got the hot hand. They've been playing way better than us lately. I'm taking the Bucks in this matchup. I hate to say it, but I'm just being really honest here. The Saints defense has fallen apart. They plus injuries have kind of hit them a little bit, and we all know the Saints offense. They are garbage, and I have zero faith in these guys. So I'm taking the Bucks by at least 3.
Yeah, it's the same things that I've been saying for the most part of the year. Uh, Offensive coordinator needs to be changed. Head coach needs to be changed in the
Mm-hmm.
offseason. Like a lot of these teams we should be beating, and like against the Rams this past week, we were down for the majority of the game. Why is it that in the last quarter, probably just the last half of the fourth quarter, we start to play like we actually, can play football? They wait until it's already over to start trying, it seems like.
Yeah, it's just I, that's what drives me bananas about the Saints team is that they put themselves in a hole way too early, and then when they finally start to climb back into it, it's too little, too late. Or worse, they take a short lead, and then it just fizzles out super quickly, and we try to get back into it, and it's already too late. So this team just cannot. They fight hard, but they cannot seem to stop tripping over themselves. And that's just been the theme all season long. And of course, our stupid coach keeps making excuses, or he keeps bragging. Every win we get, he brags that we're on the right track. No, you're not. You've been on the same track for the last 2 years now. You just need to go. Period. uh,
Yeah,
it's
after all the stuff I've seen, honestly, we can say that they'll be eliminated from the playoffs after this week if they lose. They've been out for a while.
oh yeah, they
Let's
really
be
have.
real.
But
It
it doesn't matter if we go ahead.
Honestly, I'd rather them lose these last 2 games just so we can get a better draft pick.
I agree. Like we clearly need a new quarterback, and obviously we're stuck with Derek Carr for the next 2, maybe 3 years, I think. But it would surprise me if we started looking for other alternatives at this point. And I hope we draft a quarterback in this coming draft. We need a new quarterback. It's time to break the lasting no drafting quarterbacks in the first round streak for the Saints. It's time to draft a quarterback ASAP. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, with what I've been seeing from the Buccaneers, I'm gonna say they're winning by 10. I don't think our offense is keeping up with them.
I don't think so either.
I've been picking the Saints against my better judgment for like 5 or 6 weeks now. And sometimes it's worked out for me, like against the Giants, but just after last week, the Bucks have been playing better than we have basically all season. Um, and we're kind of like we're done. We're not. If we make the playoffs, it would be
One and done.
A miracle, and B one and done. Yes.
Yeah, and
Literally.
So
just as a side note there, if even if we did make the playoffs, we're either getting Dallas or Philly.
yeah, which would
Yeah,
just be embarrassing.
it would be a
Um,
massacre.
So yeah, I mean, I've finally given up. Like, if the Saints prove me wrong this week and pull out a win, then cool. But I think the Bucks win. Like we couldn't beat the Bucks in the Superdome, so why would we beat the Bucks in Tampa Bay?
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
We're gonna
this is
get
the sad
cooked.
Yeah, this is the sad reality we are in, folks. We just our Saints. They're just falling apart little by little, and eventually it's gonna really hit us hard when a lot of our good players are gonna retire. They're gonna retire little by little. I think it's gonna start with Cam Jordan soon because he's currently the oldest on the team. Yeah, it's gonna be a rough few years, I think, folks. So get uh brace yourselves.
I mean, honestly, if we fire the coaching staff and we get all new coaches in, which I mean, there's some good options out there that we could go after. Like we could, if we wanted to try to make a play at the Lions offensive coordinator, or if we wanted to try to get like Brian Flores or someone like, there's people floating out there that I would have more confidence in if we brought them in, and if we drafted a quarterback. I feel like next year could be like how this year was for the Texans. Like maybe not the best, but like really good. But again, like I don't know if I have confidence in the organization to make those moves.
Yeah, me neither. Because I feel like Mickey Loomis, he still thinks that Dennis Allen is okay enough to keep them going. I don't know what it's gonna take for him to realize he's just not it. Like really baffles me is that how he hired him in the first place. I get it was for continuity reasons, but at the same time, if you look at Dennis Allen's overall coaching record, he has like a 22-46 record, and I'm not kidding, folks. That's not even over point. That's way under point 500. He just straight up sucks. I just want to know what their thought process was in hiring this guy.
They didn't have to pay money for a new coach.
It's just so annoying.
Yeah, the whole like loyalty promoting from within thing doesn't always work, and
It really
it's
doesn't.
it's hurt us. Like 2 years is enough. Like that's enough of a sample size to know this isn't working. The roster isn't as much of a problem as it looks just because our coaching is bad.
I just want to say one thing before, like, I guess Will's the only one that hasn't given his pick yet, but watch. If Dennis Allen gets fired, mark my words, and if they do this, I will be done. I will be moving full time to the Texans and the Bengals. Watch. They're going to let Allen go and give us Brandon Staley.
Oh,
No, it's not
jeez.
happening. There's no way.
I
There's no
I
way.
know this.
I,
We've been Saints fans for how many years? I think we know this organization. They would rather go with the cheap route.
I swear, if that did happen, I'm just not going to take them seriously. I'm not going to
I
root for another
mean,
team because my loyalty is too much to sacrifice there. But I would just stop. I would just like not care about them as much. I'd probably just go full blown Ole Miss family. I'm already a full blown Ole Miss fan as it is, but right now Ole
what
Miss is looking way better right now than the Saints.
what on earth would make you think that we would hire Brandon Staley as the head coach?
Because he's available and he'd be cheap.
Name one, like you're saying this organization goes the cheap route. Name one other than Dennis Allen. We paid Carr a lot of money.
We paid Derek Carr a lot of money.
A lot of money. Exactly. It's not the cheap route if you're paying a lot of money.
They're putting their money in
Money
the
well
wrong
spent, maybe
places, is
not,
what I'm
but
saying. And a
well,
lot of the times in the past, we've had great players that they don't want to keep around because they want too much money for them. People like
well,
Jimmy Graham or Brandon Cooks.
well, Jimmy Graham's here now.
Yeah, after hopping back and forth between like 5 teams. But
Yeah,
I feel like just knowing how this organization is, I feel like that's not an impossibility.
it definitely is. There's no shot. Zero chance.
It wouldn't be the first time you said that and it happened.
Name another time.
The only thing I can think of in Saints history that was a whole absolute terrible hire was Mike Ditka. And granted, most of us were not alive for that, but I've done my research on what he did, and he was basically the Saints hired him because he did really well for Chicago, and at the time he had even won a Super Bowl with Chicago. So it's like, okay, I get the reason why they hired him, but it ended up not working at all. I think he lasted like maybe 2.5 seasons with the Saints, and he didn't even go beyond point 500. So it's like I, I wish I was alive at the time to really know what went down during the Mike Ditka years, but at the same time, it just proved that even with this, even when the Saints decide to go for what could have been like an expensive route to get a really good coach, it ended up backfiring on them. So I don't know what the Saints would do if we do fire Dennis Allen. I really don't know. I hope we don't get Staley. If we get Staley, we're really screwed.
I would not worry about getting Staley, Chris.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying I'm not
I'm
worried
not
about
saying
that at all.
it's
I don't.
like 100% gonna happen, but I'm saying it is a possibility knowing this franchise.
Yeah, I totally get what Jose's saying, but I don't think we're gonna get him. I don't think the Saints are stupid enough to do that. But again, Saints do
I didn't think they
quite
were stupid
remarkable
enough to do
things.
half the stuff that they've done in the past couple of years, but they did it.
Yep.
But anyway, Will, your thoughts?
Yes.
7 years ago. Lord have mercy. I was able to run and come back. Simple. Bucks win by 7. Yeah, I feel sorry for
There
you
we
guys.
go.
Y'all are kind of going through what we went through after the whole, yeah, it's a different situation, but the whole Bill O'Brien and Deshaun and all that up until this period, like Paulo mentioned, us having a better season because of how our draft went. I mean, y'all are going through the same thing we went through, just miserable seasons, coaching, terrible decisions, it transpiring to what happens in games. So I feel for you guys, I really do. But I don't, because it's not my problem in this year. It's someone else's problem. But no, it's terrible feeling. I know, I get that. But yeah, the way the Bucks are playing, and not even just the Bucks, Paulo's biggest enemy, Baker, is having a hell of a season. I mean,
It really
you put
is.
his just this season, we're not going to go career because I mean, obviously Mahomes has had the better career, but like season alone, Baker only has like 300, 350 less passing yards, 26 touchdowns to both him and Mahomes. The big difference, Mahomes with 14 interceptions, Baker only has 8. Like, this might actually be, I think it is Baker's best year since he's been in the league. I mean, yeah, it's his 4th team, but I mean, he's having a career season right now. And to me, I mean, that makes me happy to see a guy that had it in Cleveland and then just had rough times afterwards. Like, that just makes me happy to see for him. Like, I'm happy for the guy. But yeah, I think the Bucks. It's in Tampa. That's another thing. Just going their way, and y'all kind of do what we do and did the last few years is just self implode. Just you look good on a week to week basis, and then just figure out a way just to kind of self implode and just lose it all, or just terrible from start to finish. Like, there's no in between for y'all. It's either one side of the board or it's the other side. And I know it's miserable, but unfortunate. Y'all will lose again.
Yeah,
And
being
maybe
Yeah,
like
so-
Paul
Saints
said, y'all
fan.
can have the kind of have the draft this year, kind of like how we had this past year, and help y'all out. I mean, y'all's biggest ordeal is, like y'all said, head coach, quarterback. Carr was a terrible signing. Not really sure what
I think we
Dennis Alice or the front
overpaid
office
him
was
for.
thinking. Oh, for sure. I mean, you could have based it off of what he did in Vegas. But I get it. You wanted a quarterback, and unfortunately, it was not the answer. So we'll be lost. We'll be sad. Come to the dark side. We have hope.
No.
Yeah, being a
Yes.
Saints fan this season is just depressing. I haven't
Yeah.
worn my Saints jersey in about 2 months. I've been wearing, swapping back and forth between, I think, my Lions, Bengals, Texans, Seahawks.
My guy is the biggest bandwagoner I've ever seen.
It's not bandwagon. I just collect jerseys, and I'm still watching the
Right.
Saints, but the way they're playing.
Yeah, it's just hard to have faith and enjoy watching. Like, to watch them, and like I said, we went through it for the last 2 seasons, to watch them every week just come out, and you're like, well, go ahead and open up a beer and see how many we can finish before halftime, because this is going to be miserable. It's kind of one of those things. It's like, yeah,
Yep.
if we can get drunk by halftime, because it's the only way this is going to look good. It's it.
I mean, shoot, man, I had 3 hurricanes by halftime. So yeah, I was really feeling it. That still wasn't good enough to get me to the games.
Uh, well, out of that depressive section, let's move on to the next game. We got Dolphins Ravens, and honestly, after what happened this week on Christmas, I think the Ravens should be winning this one.
Yeah, I'm
I
just
would
curious on
think
how
so.
this didn't make it to prime time.
Yeah, this is
Like, don't
odd.
get, you've got Vikings and Packers prime time this week, and no Monday night game. How has this not been flexed yet? If like there was any game to be flexed this season, this has got to be one of them. Like the one to flex and put it
Well,
in
Yeah.
prime
the
time.
main reason for no Monday night game this week is, college playoffs.
Well, I know.
That's going to take
I'm
the
just saying
spot.
they could have flexed it to Thursday or Sunday night. Like they have the option, and I don't understand why it has not been.
Yeah. But I think the Ravens
Yeah.
should win this. Their defense, as we saw against the 49ers, which the 49ers and Dolphins have, they're close, but I think the Dolphins have the slightly better offense. And the Ravens just manhandled them.
Yeah. When I was watching that game, I kid you not, the Ravens picked off Brock Purdy a whopping 4 times. And some of them, granted, weren't his fault, but there were a couple where I was just like, what were you thinking? So the Ravens defense manhandled the Niners and Brock Purdy all game
Which
long.
I gotta say here, Chris. Hey Ryan, you should have put in Josh Allen.
Yes, you should have, man. You choked there, bro. Anyway, so yeah, Ravens defense, they did their thing. They strutted their stuff all over the Niners, and the Niners just could not recuperate. And what was worse is that the Ravens embarrassed the Niners at their house. Talk about one big oof. If I don't know if my friend Beto, our wonderful Niner friend who has been on our podcast a few times, I'm not sure if he's listening to this one, but if he is, sorry, bro. Better luck next time, I guess. But anyway, in regards to this game, I think the Dolphins should put up a bit of more of a challenge, but overall, I still got the Ravens winning by at least 3. But also in mind, the Ravens are at home, so that gives them the edge as well. So the Ravens just looked unstoppable at this point.
This should be a really good game, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not, honestly, because look at what the Niners look what happened to the Niners. The Niners were supposedly the best team in the NFL, but now I think it might be the Ravens, the way that the Ravens just kind of manhandled them. I know we saw last year what happened with when the Ravens played the Dolphins, and the Ravens were up like 2, 3 touchdowns, and then the Dolphins in the fourth quarter came back because the Ravens couldn't stop a cold. Couldn't stop. Is that a saying? Couldn't stop a cold? I don't think it is.
Couldn't
It's good.
couldn't
It's good. Couldn't catch a cold.
yeah,
What can you stop? What's the thing you can't stop?
a
Nothing.
runaway
A
runaway
train.
nose?
No,
Oh, yeah,
running
train.
nose.
Yeah.
They could. Let's just say they couldn't block a toddler.
Yes.
Yeah, they couldn't catch
But
a
it's
fly.
a different story this year because the Ravens have a top defense. I don't think the Dolphins are gonna be able to, even with their explosive offense. Like the Niners looked pretty inept against the Ravens defense, and the Niners have an all-world cast on offense: running back, receivers, tight end, everything. And we've seen what happens when good teams go into Baltimore. Like, look at the Lions, look at the Seahawks. They just got smacked. I don't think it'll be like that, but I think the Ravens are going to win 7-10 pretty comfortably.
Yeah. Guess we're all in agreement on this one for the Ravens.
Yes. Before we move on, I have a really quick side question for everyone to ask. So there was someone, another podcast person who runs the Niners podcast. It's not Beto, it's someone else. But he was comparing Brock Purdy to Drew Brees, and on Saints Twitter, as they call it, that did not go very well with Saints Twitter because we all know Drew Brees. He's one of the best in the NFL. So, would you say that's a fair comparison to him after what happened against the Ravens last week?
I
I
don't think
can't
it was a
really.
fair comparison
I don't think
beforehand.
yeah. It's not fair because we haven't seen as much of Purdy as we have Breeze. We've only
Yeah.
seen what, maybe a year and a half of Purdy.
So, at best, yeah. See, yeah,
What
I
I
agree with that.
I would need to
what
see
were they
much more.
saying made Brock Purdy like Breeze?
So, I guess it's just the way he throws and the way he can win games, and like he's really good under pressure. He has a really elite offense. That's there's a little more to it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but basically they were just like comparing how Drew Brees wins games as Brock Purdy wins games. But to me, it's just like, okay, first off, Brock Purdy's only in his second year in the NFL. He was literally a rookie last year, an undrafted afterthought, basically. Yeah, he's. I think he's a pretty good quarterback, but I don't think he's at Drew's level quite yet. Like I gotta see more of him to really give a full analysis to say that he's at Drew's level. Because right now he's not quite there yet, in my opinion.
At least not from what we've
No.
seen.
Drew was
Yes.
one of, if not the most accurate to ever do it, and he was a great quarterback regardless of the team around him. And we've never seen Brock. I mean, Brock's not one of the most accurate to ever do it. Like, I've got enough sample size to say he's not the most accurate guy in the league right now. So I'm not saying he's like Breeze. And then also, I haven't seen Brock Purdy perform at a high level without an all-star cast. So I'm not making that comparison.
Yeah, it's way too early
Yeah,
to
me
be making
neither.
comparisons like that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That's why I figured it'd be a great question to ask in this podcast, and that'd be all question for the day to everyone watching this. Do y'all think it's a fair comparison to compare Drew to Purdy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. All right, moving on.
Will, did you ever give your pick for this game?
Nah,
Oh.
nah. Jose forgot about me once again,
Oh,
like
I
my
know.
father.
Oh, no, I just
You know,
figured-
Don't
just
worry, I got you. I got
continuous.
you.
I know.
just
I
figured you were
appreciate
picking
it.
the Ravens too because
Nah. No, I mean, obviously going to pick the Ravens here. I don't think Miami is comparable to their defense isn't comparable to like the Niners defense. The offense is semi-comparable, but I think the Niners offense is obviously much better, even with the two different quarterbacks.
You talking about the Niners or the Ravens?
The Niners and the Dolphins, like
Oh, okay.
comparable playing against that Ravens defense. So I
Gotcha.
think that defense is going to kind of do the same. I don't think they'll have as many picks because Tua has shown it this year. Like he's been a lot more patient, taking the reads, going through his regressions a lot more than he was last year, even with those issues. And I mean, Brock only being his second year, he's still, kind of gun ho, just throwing it in there. Like Tua is going to look for progressions. He's going to go to his check down more often than not with Mostert and Achane out of the backfield, because he has that option. But I still think the Ravens do win. I mean, it is at home. Uh, I mean, the Ravens are just rolling. Like it just seems like there is nothing that can stop them. Like they could finish out the season, win out all the way through playoffs and into the Super Bowl. Like it doesn't look like there's anything that could stop them by any means.
Yeah.
Like if if it came down to just so happens the Eagles squeak into the Super Bowl by some means, I think they roll them. Like they just rolled the Niners, and the Niners are definitely better than the Eagles. If it ever came down to that, I think they're just too hot right now just to steamroll anybody.
I agree. After what just happened to the Niners, like the Niners were like that team. So I don't know. I don't know who you say beats the Ravens right now. The Cowboys maybe, but they would have to be a good game for the Cowboys.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's the only maybe. Maybe, and it would have to be Dallas's best game. Like they would have to, everything would be 100% for Dallas to even touch that. But
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone in the NFC for them to play in the Super Bowl that would have me questioning, if they're gonna win or lose. Like it's just a steamroll right now. Unless something changes, unless they lose to Miami this week, I don't think that changes. I think they are the number one seed. in the AFC, they're gonna have first round bye. They're going I have that. Even if it's not my team, I have that confidence that they take it all the way. Like
Yeah.
Miami's their only competition. I don't have faith in the Bills. I don't have faith in Kansas City. Like there's literally no one at the moment. Maybe Cleveland with Joe Flacco. Maybe, but you have to see how the season goes. And that's like a heavy maybe. Like he would have to stay healthy. Everything would have to continue going the way it's going for Cleveland. But I think that's their best option right now is they go all the way.
All right. I think we're all in agreement. The Ravens should win this one. We should probably try to fly through these next ones because we've already been going for 45 minutes. Our multiple rants we've had here and there.
Can't say we have a lot of good football to talk about.
Next up, I don't think this should be a question, but who knows? It's a division game. Patriots, Bills. I think the Bills should win, but the Patriots may have only won 4 games, but their defense is one of the better ones in the league, and the Bills, they didn't really even pass a whole lot this last week. I think.
Yeah.
What did Gabe Davis have? Because he was the leader. It was like 100 something yards, but he only had like, I think 5, maybe 6 catches. And I believe he caught all of his targets.
Something like that. I don't remember at the top of my head, but yeah, for this matchup in particular, the Bills should win theoretically, but again, it's a divisional matchup. You just don't never know. Maybe the Patriots might pull a wild hair and try to pull an upset because right now the Bills are fighting for their playoff spot, as we speak. We thought they were out of it after taking those early losses, but it seems like they're finding a groove again, and I think they will continue that groove against the Patriots. But I'm gonna keep the score low, and they only win by 7.
Yeah, I'll take the Bills as well. The Bills are very up and down, but when they're up, they're a good team, and the Patriots are never really very good. So, if the Bills have a good game, I think they'll win. The Patriots beat them in their last matchup earlier in the season, and I refuse to believe that the Patriots are gonna sweep the
I
Bills.
don't think this is the same
No.
Bills team as that game. I think they're much improved since then.
Yeah.
Will?
Yeah, I think this is it's in Buffalo, which I mean they're both used to playing in the snow this time of the year, but it is New England, who's I think it's pretty easy. I want to say the Bills, but there's always that chance that somehow Josh Allen just plays like complete trash, by all means. But I think the Bills do win. I think this should be, I want to say easy win, but at the same time, who knows? Because Bailey Zappi can have a game like he did a week or 2 ago where he looked pretty good. And Zeke's looking good. You know, being able to take over that RB1 spot for him. But it should be Bills. You know, so I'm gonna put my eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
But there's always that slight chance that they fumble it and just blow it somehow.
And before we move on to the next game, Josh Allen, throw it to Stephon Diggs for the love of God.
Yes. I
All right,
agree.
next up, Falcons and Bears. And honestly, I think the Bears might win this one.
Honestly, I have more faith in the Bears than I do in the Falcons, as we all know the Falcons, much like everybody else in the NFC South except for the Panthers. Yeah, the Falcons probably will find a way to lose to the Bears, and the fact it's at Soldier Field in
I'm-
Chicago, I think the Bears have a bigger edge, and the Bears have been looking pretty decent lately. They won last week against the Arizona Cardinals. Granted, they suck too, but still, they've been playing relatively better. They haven't been winning, but they've been playing better. So I
Yeah.
think they continue that trend against the Falcons this week.
Granted, to the Falcons also just lost to the Panthers.
Ah, yes, yes. The wonderful loss that the Falcons give every year for us to laugh at.
Y'all really let the Panthers beat you without scoring a touchdown.
Mm, mm, shame, shame. It makes a man like me smile every day. But yeah, give me the Bears by 7 in this matchup.
Yeah, I'll take the Bears as well. The Bears have been, finding their stride a little bit lately. The Falcons didn't look too bad this past week. But I don't know. I think the Bears are gonna find a way to win this one.
Yeah. Is Will gone?
Yes, yes, yes. See, last time I bet against the Falcons, I bet that, I had money that Indy would beat the Falcons.
Oh no.
And and it was in Atlanta. That's the difference maker, I think, for this one. And somehow Atlanta just absolutely just like manhandled the Colts, even though the Colts were looking pretty good with Gardner, right? But it's in Chicago. Justin Fields is looking good, and it's starting to look better. You know, team is looking better. But I mean, these are two meh teams that have very good game, either a really good game or either a terrible game. But I do think Chicago. I'm just giving it to Chicago for home field. I mean, the weather is just terrible. Like Atlanta's used to playing in warm weather, humid, sunshine, and they're going up there where it's going to be cold, windy, possible snow. So, and the Bears are just more equipped to playing like that. So I think that the Bears win. The Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears.
All right. Next up, Texans Titans. Will, hit us with your knowledge of the Texans.
Hit you with the knowledge. I'm gonna give you the Texas hammer. Knowledge. CJ Stroud was at practice today. Thank the Lord. Nico, Dalton Schultz. Like, it's looking good. Downside, defensive injuries. Jimmy Ward on IR. Will Anderson's still out. So still some key components on that other side of the ball. But we did sign Kareem Jackson, picked him up from Denver, and he'll be starting. Good to bring back an old veteran that used to play for us, back in the day when we were making playoff runs. So, that's always good to see. But, man, they've got to win this week. They got to win this week and next week, with the help of some other games in the next couple of weeks, the next week and two, for a playoff hope. Hey, if we make playoffs, like, I'm gonna be ecstatic, right? Like, seasons we've had, and then for the season to go this way, like, I'll be happy. If we don't make it, hey, had a hell of a year, like, shown a lot of potential. But it's here in Houston. I think we should be wearing the Oilers jerseys. We beat them fair and square. I think we get the rights. That's just my opinion. Even JJ said the same thing. Hey, you lost, hand them over. Like, I feel the
JJ's
same
biased,
way.
though.
I'm just saying, I feel the same. I mean, that's just how it should be. You warm against us, you lost, even in your own home turf. That's all I'm saying. But I think it's going to be good. I mean, if Levis is still out, I think Tannehill's still going to be the starter. That's what it's looking like. And we know how Tannehill is. I mean, he was benched for Levis, so that kind of says something. I think we win this. I mean, we're at home. Got our quarterback back, our wide receiver one's back. Like, I've got faith even with those few defensive players missing. I still have faith that we can stop the ball. I mean, we held Henry for the first time, thank the Lord, to under 20 yards. Passing, receiving and running. Like, that's insane. Like, I think we can do the same thing. Like, I have that faith. I have that faith that we can go in there and get a win. Put us at the top of the division, hopefully. We'll talk about that Jaguars game in a minute, but hopefully they can lose. Same thing for the Colts, and we can beat the Titans. Like, man, all the pieces could fall into place. So I got high hopes. Texans by 20. No, I'm just playing. Texans by like
That's a little
7. By
much.
like 7. By 7.
Ooh.
Calm down. Calm down. No,
Yeah,
by 7 at least. I think by a touchdown. I think it's
yeah,
gonna be a
Those-
game though. It's gonna be a real good game.
I'm also gonna roll
Those
with the
pulling a Chris
Texans.
move.
Texans by
me.
3. I don't
What
want to hear
thought,
it.
I'm gonna roll with the Texans. If Stroud's back, I don't see any reason they should lose this.
I'm gonna agree with that. With their best players coming back, I could easily see the Texans winning this game.
With the exception
Without
of Tank Dell.
right, with the exception of Tank Dell, because I think C.J. Stroud could tear apart the Titans' defense. Without even sweating bullets, in my opinion. Now that he's back in the action, so Texans all day. I'm gonna have Texans by 14.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Texans as well. Y'all are gonna have Stroud back, Nico, and then Schultz is back. I think that's really all you needed to get back. Like even with Tank Dell out, like you've got enough to beat the Titans. The Titans aren't a great team. Division game. Stroud is that dude when he's healthy, and so is Nico this year. So honestly, like and then Henry doesn't really scare you like he used to. Like Henry's not a little bit older. He's had a few injuries. I mean, you've got Tajay Spears who's been doing well, but like
But Tajay doesn't even
Hopkins is
scare
another
me.
dude that's a little bit older. Like the Titans they've got good players that are like past their prime. Not
Yeah.
by much, but just a little bit,
Yeah.
I think the Texans win by a
Yeah.
touchdown, maybe field goal, perhaps.
And I do feel more
perchance.
confident in our backfield than theirs. Like you said, Henry doesn't scare us. Like he held him to under 20 yards. Like solid. That's solid. Like Spears, like you said, has been doing all right, but like not anything amazing. Not anything to take that starting position away from Henry. And in the future, like the next year maybe, like when they're looking to trade Henry or reduce his role maybe, but nothing insane. Like the way Singletary's been playing, like Singletary has been having a season for a veteran who was over at Buffalo. Like he is putting on a show to take away that number one spot from Pierce. Like you came in, took away a man's number one position. Yes, he was injured, but on a week in and week out basis, it's still like, hey, you're not getting the spot back, and you're putting up 80 to 100, 120 yards a game. Like I am more concerned about our running game than theirs. And it hasn't been like that in years. Like last time it was like that is we had Foster, and they had nobody. Like that was the last time it was like that. So everything just looks good on our side.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one, which is, as Will mentioned, one to watch out for the Texans. Colts Raiders, and honestly, after what I saw this past week from the Raiders defense, I think the Colts have a decent chance to lose this one.
Yeah, I agree. The Raiders pulled an upset against the Chiefs last week, and honestly, it was one of the most surprising upsets, considering the Raiders beat the Chiefs at their house for one, and the way the Chiefs Raiders beat them was just their defense. Like they had back-to-back defensive touchdowns. One was a
Scored
pick
twice
six.
within 7 seconds off the clock.
Yeah. Yeah, one was a pick six, the other was a scoop and score for a touchdown. The Raiders just gave them everything they got, and it worked out in the end. So, I honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they did that again against the Colts. Grant, the Colts are maybe a little more put together than the Chiefs at this point. I say that very loosely, but this could be a pretty good matchup for how the Colts try to keep their playoff hopes alive, and that they're at home. But I'm gonna go for the underdog here. I'm gonna go for the Raiders for this matchup. Mainly because I think their defense wants to pull an upset on the Colts, and the offense can do stuff when they want to, but they would have to really play their A game against the Colts.
Yeah.
So I'm pulling for the Raiders in an upset.
Yeah, I think I honestly might do the same. Like we said, the Raiders' offense isn't anything great, but their defense is what carried them last week. I mean, against the Chiefs' defense, who I think is a much better defense than the Colts, O'Connell only had, actually not only, he didn't have any completed passes after I think mid first quarter. He didn't complete a single pass the entire second half. I
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
that's pretty
see
bad.
like I don't see the Colts doing that kind of thing because I don't think their defense is as good as Kansas City's. But the defense is what's going to win them the game. Which I have to say something off of what you said earlier, Chris. That fumble. Tell me how a direct snap to Pacheco, he hands it off to Mahomes. Mahomes takes like one or two steps and then fumbles, and the fumble goes against Pacheco.
No idea. Like, you would have to see it in person to fully understand what we're talking about, folks. But what me and the rest of us saw in that game, we were just scratching our heads and like, what were they thinking? And two, why was the fumble counted to Pacheco? That made no sense. The whole play didn't make any sense. It was a very weird play, and you wonder why they fumbled it in the first place. So
Mahomes got no hands.
yeah, for real. So anyway,
What were you gonna pick, Paulo?
I was gonna pick the Raiders, but I was waiting for y'all to finish the spiel because this is like the third time I've heard about this. And the simple answer is that Pacheco was the last person with possession of the ball. So when the ball is fumbled, like Mahomes never had possession, so it's gonna go against Pacheco. But yeah, I'm taking the Raiders versus the Colts.
and at least will.
Nice spiel, Paulo. Like it. Short and sweet. So here's my thing. As much as I want the Colts to lose, I don't think the Raiders are going to do what they did to the Chiefs to the Colts. I think Minshew has a little more help than Mahomes does. The whole Aiden O'Connell not throwing for anything 3 quarters, does that come down to the Chiefs defense or does that just come down to him as a quarterback? Like, if we go back and watch, like, what does that really come down to? Are we just gonna say it was the defense and not blame him? Like, you didn't complete a pass for 3 quarters, and we're just gonna chalk it up to the defense. I think that's a little much. Because I mean, how often does that happen? Has that happened before? Like, that's just. I think that's one of those weird freak things. But I'm gonna side with the Colts. It's in Indy. It's hard to win in Indy for any team. Like, Indy is one of those stadiums that when Manning was there for all those years, and even when Luck was there, and Minshew being there now, like that's a hard stadium to win in general. And it's always been like a challenge for Houston over the years as well, and other teams, Jacksonville, Tennessee. Like, that's just one of those stadiums that it makes it difficult. So I think the Colts win. I just don't think the Raiders have a repeat of what they just did in Kansas City because Kansas City's in shambles right now. And they have been all season. Like, we've seen it. Or they can play a mediocre team, kind of like they just did with the Raiders, and somehow lose. Like, you don't know how, but they did. But then go play a better team and beat them. So I don't think the Raiders do it. I'm sticking with the Colts, even though I'd like them to lose. Better boast our playoff chances. I think Indy wins. Unfortunately, I just don't see the Raiders doing that back-to-back weeks.
All right, then Will's going to be the odd man out.
Very well.
Next up, though, in another one for Texans fans to be paying attention to, Panthers, Jaguars, and honestly, it's the Panthers. The Jaguars are not the Falcons.
Ow. You really think the Panthers are going to win?
I
How'd
don't
you
think
get
that's what he
that?
That's exact. Does that not what it sounded like he said?
I said it's
No.
the Panthers. The Jaguars are not the
No.
Falcons. They shouldn't be dropping the ball on this one. I don't think the Jaguars are going to lose to the Panthers.
Hell no. Like, Panthers they're not going to come anywhere close to the Jaguars. Although, now hear me out. They did put up a pretty good fight against the Packers, but again, the They are
The
the
Packers have been
so-
wildly inconsistent this year.
Yeah.
I mean, the
So
Jags are on a 4-game losing streak. I mean, lost to Bengals, lost to the Browns, blown out by the Ravens, blown out by the Bucks this past week. Like, and then yeah, Carolina has a one decent game, but are we even sure the Jags are that number one? You know, atop the AFC South.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that compared to the Panthers, it's just
no.
I mean,
contest.
maybe.
the of the teams
You would
who-
have to be the worst team in the NFL to be worse than the Panthers.
what I'm
Anyway, he's
what I'm
saying
referring
they're not the
to
worst team in the NFL.
what I'm referring to here is like what you just said, Will, with all those teams you just listed. You listed the Browns, you listed the Ravens. Those are two of the best defenses in the league. I didn't expect them to win that.
So what about the Bengals and the Bucks?
The Bengals were on a hot streak at that point. But the Buccaneers,
They were not, because that was Jake Browning's first game. There was no streak.
well, Browning did put up a fight against the Ravens the week before that when he went in for Burrow. That was the start of them catching fire. But the other teams that they've went against, for the most part, have been better teams than them. I mean, the Buccaneers last week that was probably the best game I've seen from them all year.
Have you not been watching the Buccaneers?
No.
I've been watching a few games of theirs, but that one against the Jaguars, it was still a pretty good game. But still, the Buccaneers right now are number 1 in the South. The Panthers are the worst team in the league. I mean,
That is true.
this is like last week when Chris was saying, what was it? I can't remember who it was. Was it the Eagles and the Giants? He was saying that if the Giants beat the Eagles, he was going to eat a shoe. I'm surprised he hasn't said that with this one.
And look how close the Giants
want to,
came
though?
to beating the Eagles. Like, let's not dismiss that they still went in there and put up 22 points against them and came close to actually beating them.
I just don't see the Panthers winning this. I really don't.
Yeah, I might be throwing away a pick here this week, and who cares because my season total is atrocious as it is, as I've missed multiple weeks.
You've missed over a
I'm gonna
month, I
say,
think.
the Panthers are gonna win. I mean, at this point of the season, the way Jacksonville's playing, like they're supposed to be the number 1 team in the AFC South. And as a division leader and a top of the South, you should be playing like a division leader, and you're not. You're putting up 1 touchdown against these teams. 1. And you have a pretty solid offense. You have Trevor Lawrence, you've got ETN, you've got Ingram, you've got Ridley, you've got, well, Kirk's out, and then Zay Jones when he wants to be good. Like, you're a division leader, acts like it. At this point of the season, like anyone could.
You think the Panthers are going to be the Jaguars,
I do.
but you don't think the Raiders are going to be the Colts.
No.
Okay. All right.
All
Oh,
right.
you trying to put something on it, Paulo?
Oh boy.
What? The
Oh,
Jaguars will beat the Panthers?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it. Absolutely.
What you got, Paulo? What you got?
Hey, let's go.
I don't know. What do you want?
I
The
don't
Panthers
know.
win.
Polish eat a shoe.
What? Why?
With shoes.
jeez.
I feel like Chris has a foot fetish here, and it's starting to bother me.
Only with the shoe on the foot.
Yeah, doesn't not the feet in particular, but just the shoe. He's got like a shoe fetish.
Yes. You know what? You wanna double down on the drink thing? If the
Double
Panthers
down
win,
on the
I'll buy
drink.
you 2.
Yep.
Okay. And if you lose, what, you go buy 3 instead of 2? Because I'm not gonna make you
2.
like double up to 4.
Yeah, I'll buy you 2.
You already owe me 2. If I win,
I'm
another
not. If you win, but if not, I'll only owe you 2. I'll double down.
Okay,
I'm not scared.
Hold on.
I'll double down. I'm in that confidence.
Okay, so
that I'll
if I
double
win
down.
this, okay, so what happens if you win the other one and I win
Yes.
this one? How does that?
You only owe me
Does it
1.
just cancel out? Okay, I owe you 1.
Yeah.
No, because I only owe you one if I lose the other
Oh my
one.
god.
Oh yeah, that's
So
right.
if
That's
I
all
win this
math.
one,
Math is
so
math.
you want to just they negate if we each win one?
We
Why don't
negate.
y'all
Boys,
why don't y'all
Okay.
let's
we
discuss
gotta
this later.
hurry up with that
It
because we
cancels
are
out.
already an hour and 10
It's
minutes in,
PEMDAS.
and we're
It's
not even
PEMDAS.
past the
It
12
cancels. We
o'clock
learned that.
games.
We learned that in algebra.
I
Let's
will
move
say
on,
this though,
gang.
Will, if the Panthers win this, I will buy the hot dogs at the Rangers Stadium next year.
Hey, I am taking that. Let's go. You heard it here.
I will buy
He will buy the
yours, not
2-foot
everybody else's.
glizzy.
Aw, nuts. You know, wait. You know what? I'll do this. I'll throw in the ring, my hat in the ring for this one.
Oh god.
I will buy Will a brand new Rangers jersey.
Lord have
I'm-
mercy.
I will buy him a Rangers jersey, if the Panthers win. And I'll
Lock it
buy it.
in.
I'll buy
God.
it for him the day that we go to Dallas.
Locking it in, boys.
Chris
about to
just
come
jinxed
out
it.
a winner.
Chris just jinxed it.
I'm about to come out a winner, boys. Lock it in.
Oh, well. Let's try to
Moving on.
blow through these last few here for the 12 o'clock games. Because I don't think they should be much of a discussion here. Next up, Rams Giants. I think it should be the Rams. Granted, the Giants put up a fight against the Eagles, but the Eagles have been struggling. They are winless in the month of, well, not winless as of last week, but before that, they were winless in the month of December.
Yeah, the Rams they looked really good against the Saints last week, and I mean I would expect them to. I mean, come on, it's the Saints. So, the Rams offense, it's way more high powered than the Giants offense by any measures. So, this one's an easy pick for me. I'll say the chatter and discussion, Rams by 10.
I concur.
Paulo, speak. Speak, you
Oh, think of
hooligan.
more bets.
Paul's mind is just set afire right now with the chaos.
Screw it. He can pick when he comes back. Cardinals,
Yep.
Eagles.
Eagles
Is
all
that a
day.
question?
Eagles, yeah. I mean,
Unless the Cardinals
all day.
decide to pull a hat trick out of their hat, I just don't see them being the Eagles at all. Yeah, granted, the Eagles, like Jose mentioned, they have sucked this entire month of December, but I just don't see them being losing to the Cardinals. Excuse me. So Eagles by 10 in this matchup.
Right. And the next one up is Niners Commanders. Do we have to question it?
Yeah, even
Nope.
with the game Purdy had, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that they bounce back. I mean, it's just
Against
they
one
had
of the
one of those
worst
games.
defenses in the league.
Yeah, they just had one of those games. I mean, we all knew that game this past week between them and the Ravens was going to be a knockout dragout. Like it was potentially a preview at the Super Bowl. So I mean, it's kind of what you expect out of a game like that. Both number one seeds. I don't think that's an issue this week against Sam
Yeah.
Howell. Like, come on.
There's just no way Brock Purdy has another game like he had against the Ravens. Now, granted, it's the Ravens. They were a much more formidable opponent than the Commanders. But seriously, that's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row. So 49ers by 14 in this matchup.
Yeah, it's about to be one of those memes. You want what he's having? Like, it's about to be bad.
It's
like,
the
I feel
bounce
bad
back
for the
game.
Commanders. Yeah. Like, it's just about to just be a rebound game that's going to be insane.
Yeah, but with that one, that concludes the 12 o'clock games. It's taken us this long to get through all the 12 o'clock games. Jesus. We got the 3 o'clocks. Steelers, Seahawks. I think it should be Seahawks. Their offense is just better.
Significantly better. Steelers offense ain't they're nothing to talk about, as we've said all season. And their defense can be good, but I think they're slowly falling apart. And the Seahawks is just gonna be too much for them to handle. So the Steelers kind of resemble the Saints, but maybe a tad better. And I say that very
Now-
loosely as well.
I gotta point out something from last week. I believe it was Steelers and Bengals. I specifically had the Bengals defense in my fantasy team starting, and granted, the Steelers offense did pretty good against the Bengals, but the Bengals don't have the greatest pass defense. They have, I believe it's toward the bottom of the list for yards allowed. And the Bengals are good at taking the ball away. I think they're number 1 or 2 in turnovers, something like that. But they're not great at defending passes, which is why Pickens kind of went off. Shout out to Paulo, who put him on the bench. That's
Wherever
100
Paulo's
points
at.
down the drain. But the Steelers, they shouldn't be holding a candle to the Seahawks. The Seahawks are a team that beat Philly and went toe-to-toe with Dallas and almost won. I don't think it should be much of a question.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So yeah, I'm taking Seahawks in this matchup.
Oh, he's finally back.
I will
He is
also
back.
take Seahawks.
All right, Paulo, blow through
Seahawks
these
have been
real quick.
looking good.
Niners, Commanders,
Niners,
Cardinals, Eagles,
Eagles,
Rams, Giants.
Rams.
All right. Chargers, Broncos. Russell Wilson has been benched.
Yeah,
And
shocking.
the Chargers are still their somewhat lackluster selves. They did, however, put up a fight against the Bills this past week.
Yeah, they seem to play way better under a different coach than they did with their previous coach for obvious reasons. Now, will that continue against the Broncos? I don't think so, in my opinion. But if they do, then great. But I'm still going to choose the Broncos as a safe bet because I think the Broncos, well, they're a tad better than the Chargers
I
at
think
this
the
point.
Broncos have a better defense than Buffalo does. That should be evident by the game they had against Buffalo earlier this year. So I'm going to pick
Yeah.
the Broncos. I'm going to say it's by 3.
Yeah, I agree. But Broncos by 3.
Yeah, I think this will
I'll
be a
take-
lackluster game.
Yep.
Yeah, backup versus backup. When what Wilson did play earlier this season against the Chargers, it was 24-7, and that was in Los Angeles. So now you're taking Wilson out of the picture. You're going with Trevor Siemian, who was the starter at one time for Denver,
Jared
and they
Stidham.
benched him. Is it Stidham?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Simeon's the starter for the
Yeah,
Jets
that's
right
right. Stidham, who started for the Raiders. Yeah, it's just it's not. It's going to be a very lackluster 3 o'clock game. It'll be very defensive, I think, like Jose said, where the defense will handle the Chargers, especially if Keenan Allen is still out, like he was this last week. So I think that the Broncos win by 2 points.
Yeah,
Somehow.
I'll take the Broncos as well.
Safety.
Easton Stick, Jared Stidham, like we're in the bottom half of NFL backups. But as good as the Chargers played for their interim head coach last week, Sean Payton has brought this team back into relevancy a little bit, and I don't think benching Russ was the right decision, but I still think they'll squeak out a win.
Stidham will be like the 50-something starting quarterback of the season.
It's like 58 or 59, I think.
Mm-hmm. Like almost 60 starting quarterbacks have played this
insane.
year.
It's the year of the backups. But I think everybody picks Broncos for that.
Yes.
Let's move on here to what I believe should have been the Sunday night game. Bengals Chiefs. And as I said, the Bengals passing defense ain't great, but they're good at getting turnovers, and good lord, if Mahomes makes mistakes like he did against the Raiders, The Bengals are, I think, about to run away with it.
Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me because the Chiefs are falling apart as we speak,
Their
and
defense is keeping
I'm
them in
I'm
games, but that offense is struggling.
yeah, like even with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey out there, it's just not enough. And it just makes me wonder how much of a hit they have taken since Eric Bieniemy, their former offensive coordinator, and obviously Tyreek Hill. When they both left them, they have changed drastically. They just do not look like the same Chiefs we've seen the last couple seasons. So
Yeah.
I honestly I'm gonna take the Bengals in this matchup. I know they didn't play too good last week, but I feel like they could stir up a better matchup. Excuse me, let me rephrase that. I think they'll play better than the Chiefs in this matchup, despite the Chiefs playing at home. I'm losing faith in the Chiefs right now, and I have better faith in the Bengals to win this one than the Chiefs. So I'm taking Bengals by 3.
I'll take the Bengals as well. I don't think either team is gonna destroy the other, because the Bengals didn't look amazing last week. But I still think the Bengals will get a win, a touchdown or less probably, point differential.
I just want to mention one thing real quick about what was going on with the Chiefs this game. It got so bad with dropped passes and such that around the third quarter, Mahomes was looking directly at the receivers and showing them how to catch a ball.
Wow, that's pretty bad. And
Honestly,
yeah,
though, Mahomes is also partially to blame. 3 interceptions, and I still say that fumble should have counted against him. I don't care what you say, Paulo. I saw that man take 2 steps with the ball in his hands.
I mean, you can take 2 steps juggling and catch it. It still won't count as a fumble.
He wasn't juggling it, though.
If he doesn't have uh, control of the ball, then he doesn't have control of the ball.
But anyway, I saw a lot of under and overthrows from Mahomes, and going back to the thing with Kelsey, if none of the receivers are stepping up, that puts a lot of pressure on Kelsey. And what I was noticing is they're doing a pretty good job of covering him. And if he can't throw to Kelsey, he can't really trust the others. We've seen that over this year. He cannot trust the other receivers. Rice is like the only one. And even he drops passes. For the love of
yeah,
God, the Chiefs need to draft a receiver. That
they really
give
do.
give Mahomes help.
And honestly, I would be looking to a different offensive coordinator at the least. But I would start receiver first, see if that makes any of a difference. But yeah, the Chiefs need help drastically on the receiving end of things. So yeah,
Will
Will Jinx.
Gonna be the odd man out here. I'm not.
Oh
I'm gonna say the
wow.
Chiefs. Yeah, I'm gonna say Chiefs. It's an Arrowhead, and I'm gonna give them the
Okay.
benefit of the dial. Yeah, they had a rough game against Oakland, very rough game. But I think they changed some things this week. I mean, obviously things have to change if they want to have any kind of playoff implications and go anywhere. Obviously things need to change, and I think they know that. And I think that may start to happen this week. Uh, because if not, they're not getting very far in the playoffs. They'll make it, but they won't get very far. And this is a game they have to win. I mean, it's another AFC opponent for them. So I think the Chiefs win, but I don't think it's going to be pretty by any means. I don't think they win or blow them out because I mean we've seen what Jake Browning can do even against good teams. Uh, so I do think the Chiefs kind of bounce back this week and get a win at home to kind of help
if that does
soften that
happen,
blow.
they will lock up their playoff spot because the Raiders and the Broncos were the only ones close in their division, and they're currently 2 games behind them. A loss this week from the Chiefs and a win from either the Broncos or Raiders would help, but if the Chiefs win, that's it.
Yeah, because the Chiefs are 9-6, Bengals are 8-8 or 8-7.
Yeah, if
So
they win this week, there's nothing the other two teams can do.
So I do think the Chiefs kind of bounce back. I think they're hitting it hard. I think they're gonna. Andy Reid's really looking at all the issues and everything that's going on. But I do think they're gonna win.
Yep.
But I don't think it's more than a touchdown.
I'm still picking Bengals. I'm gonna say it's
Same.
gonna be close, but I'm gonna say by 3. But the only one we got left now, Sunday Night Football. Why the heck is this Sunday night? Vikings Packers.
At least it's a
No
division
idea.
game. It's a
I
division
don't
rival.
care if it's a division game. These teams are
Garbage.
I wouldn't
Or-
necessarily say garbage. It's
the
pump the brakes
Packers
there. I mean,
almost
both
lost
teams,
to the Panthers.
and
Yeah, and Packers beat us.
yeah. So y'all are worse than the
So did the
Panthers?
Vikings.
Like,
we already know the Saints suck. There's no debate in there.
I mean, both teams are
Yeah.
literally one game under 500. Like, for them not having a veteran quarterback, for them not having, especially the Vikings. I mean, they had Big Kirko until he got injured, but for them having to go through Josh Dobbs and then Jaron Hall, like, they're one game below 500. One. Like, they're not having an atrocious season. I mean, they've had major injuries. The same thing for Green Bay. Like, you have Jordan Love who's trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
Like, this is his first season, right? To
But I'm-
start all 16, 17 games now with an extension. Like, to be 7-8 as your first season isn't terrible. I mean, look, Davis Mills was 2-14. Like, or I think that's not the right verbiage.
What I'm saying
Because, I mean,
though,
he's
is
having
like,
a much better season.
there are definitely better matchups that they could have put at Sunday night.
Yeah, but they don't know that when they make these schedules. When they make these schedules at the beginning of the year,
But like you said,
they're
they
just
could have
making
flexed
matchups.
it.
And they've yet to flex any games this year.
No, they
Not
have
a
flexed
single
one.
game has been flexed. Which one?
I can't remember. It was one from like a couple weeks ago. It was a Thursday
Oh, it was
night
this-
game
it
that
was-
got flexed.
Yeah, you're right. One game. They have flexed one game.
Yeah, they should have flexed this one, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe.
They could have put Bengals Chiefs in there. They could have put where is it? The Dolphins
Bengals Chiefs did not
Ravens.
deserve it. Ravens Dolphins, if anything.
That's the one. That
Maybe
is the only
Lions
one this week.
Cowboys.
Okay, 2.
Yeah.
But they're getting a Saturday game, so I mean that's a pretty big flex for a Saturday night game. Like, they get a whole day to themselves. But anyways, Packers by 5.
5.
What?
I'm telling you, it's gonna be by 5. Y'all are
5.
laughing.
Bro, just
Y'all are
he's
laughing.
counting on safeties or 2-point conversions that don't work.
Good
Packers by
grief.
5.
Yeah, I don't know if I can have faith
I'm
in the
good.
Vikings, honestly.
I can't. I mean,
I was
Jettis
just
is
gonna
doing
say
it
the same
alone
thing.
right now. Hawkinson's out. Madison's Alexander Madison. As much as I love having him on fantasy, goodness gracious, that man plays every week and is out by like the second quarter. By like halftime, this man has an injury. Like every game, it seems like. Like they're just falling apart. Like now you're down to Jefferson.
Addison,
Jordan
I believe, is hurt.
out. Yeah. So I mean, you have one man at this point that is trying to do it all for this team. If I was him, I'd fake an injury at this point in the season, like big toe something. Like I'm going down.
Michael Thomas.
Like yeah, I'm pulling on Michael Thomas and I'm out for 4 games. Like because that NFC is pretty locked up. Like
Yeah.
if they make the playoffs somehow, they're out. Like if they were to make it, and I don't think they're even in it anymore, they would be out first round.
Let me see here. Does it show where is the I'm looking to see if I can see who would make it as a wild card here. Because right now it's showing Cowboys, Rams, Seahawks. Is it 3 or 4 wild cards? I think it's 3, right?
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the 3.
Cowboys, Rams, Seahawks.
Yeah,
The
so at
Rams
this
could
point-
potentially not make it, but
Potentially.
they probably will.
At this point, I mean, it's a safe bet is to protect Jettas. Like that is your bet. I mean, you've lost your number one tight end, number one running back, your wide receiver two, your QB1. Like at one point, when is enough enough? Like when do we start looking at the future, like next season, and start resting guys, kind of like what Denver did? Like that's a different situation in Denver, but you still sat him because you knew potential injuries could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Packers as well. They're gonna squeak a win by, and the if we were talking, even if Hawkinson wasn't hurt or Addison wasn't hurt, I might pick the Vikings, but it's just so much. It's just so much going against the Vikings right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got Jefferson, Osborne, Ty Chandler, and then Nick Mullins. Like I don't even know who you throw in as a third receiver. And then I guess you got like I can't remember his name, the backup tight end. Like it's too much going against them. It's got to be the Packers, even though the Packers aren't that good.
But yeah, I was gonna initially pick the Vikings, but given all their circumstances, injuries and whatnot, I can't pick them in good faith. I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Packers as well.
Yeah. I think we all can agree there. They're just way too banged up.
Yeah, they're bunch of old broke down lemons out there. So
Well, that
sorry,
takes
Vikings.
care of all the games for this week. As we said, no Monday night game because the college playoff games will be happening. Oh boy, we got 1 week left in the regular season.
I know, and then playoffs start.
Yep.
It should be a fun, wild ride.
A lot of things to be decided in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, division winners, playoff qualifiers, or losers who will miss the playoffs and likely start firing their coaches. Hopefully, that'll be the Saints next, please, Lord.
Is preying on the downfall of Dennis Allen.
Yes, Dennis Allen can kick rocks.
You ever seen? I know Paul has probably seen them. The different slide like pictures of people talking about all these different things. It's like me at such and such, me at this, and then the last one is like a dude in a suit, and it's like something they
it's
actually
like job
want.
interview,
Yeah,
something like friend's wedding, and then downfall. Because I remember
yeah.
Eli Apple's demise one.
That's what it is with Dennis Allen. It's like you dress like
Yes.
a hobo for your sibling's wedding or for a job interview, and then at the downfall of Dennis Allen, you're in a full suit.
Just a suit.
That should be the next thumbnail for this episode.
I could do it too.
Yes.
Well, as we all know, New Year's is this coming weekend. Next week we will be in 2024 for the next episode.
Yes. Now, folks, don't go blowing off your fingers and hands and whatnot. You blowing up fireworks now. And I can speak for one person who lives with me right now. Don't do that. So, but everyone, happy New Year coming up, and we'll see y'all next year. Literally.
All right.